technology tools, and technologies in the IT industry. The objective of this initiative is to create further TICT communities which will enable peer learning. It aims to inculcate a culture of community of practice for entrepreneur developers in technology professionals, where they ignite the art of knowledge gaining and knowledge sharing. Welcome to the 97th edition of Fireport 80. First, we'll be having the Tech Bite session where we'll discuss the tech changes that happened in the last 1 month. I invite Raj Mohan for the Tech Bite session.
Good evening to all. So let's get into today's Tech Bite session. So Google takes its AI flood tracking tool to more countries. So there's a website called Flood Hub, which you can use to check your localities whether it is in a flood affected zone or not. So what this actually does is it predicts whether your zone is in a flood related zone or not. So basically this was first launched in India, but now Google is planning on taking it forward to other countries like in countries in Africa, Latin America, and Southeast Asia. So those who are interested can check that site out. It's called Flood Hub. Okay, so next one. WhatsApp is going to introduce a new feature in which you can message yourself. So it's like this will be how the interface will be. So what you can do is you can like share notes to yourself. Like if you want to share, like look into an article later on. So if you like, it's like you can use it for different purposes. You can use it for setting reminders to yourself, or you can like bookmark websites and all, which you can check out later. So this is one feature which is available in beta now. It is going to be rolled out soon, I guess. So Elon Musk takes over Twitter. So everybody has been hearing about this for the past 7 months, I guess. So it has been everybody knows what Twitter is like. It is the 5th most popular social media network. So Elon Musk has taken it over, and I hope some of you might have seen that he coming into the office with a sink in his hand, saying that there is going to be some cleanup happening here. So what followed was around 7,500 people were fired, including the CEO. So that's what happening, and there's been lawsuits following that, and this is happening for past 7 months. So this is one thing. So maybe we'll go to the next one now. Apple to change the Hey Siri voice. So Siri is activated by Hey Siri command, right? So going forward, it is going to be changed to just Siri. This is because in certain cases when we are having a normal conversation and we are using the keyword Hey, and Siri gets activated. So to avoid this, they are going to change this. And this is not coming in anytime soon. Sometime in 2024 or something like that, they're going to launch this. So BGMI, PUBG. So this has been banned in India, this very popular game, and this has been banned in India. But still the game is quite popular among the youth, and they are planning on making a comeback. So they have hinted some like videos in YouTube and all, providing tutorials and all. This might mean that they are coming back soon. There's one more slide, I guess. Okay, so one more news is there, like I think the slide is missing. So some of the applications from Meta has been down in couple of weeks, like a couple of weeks back. If you remember, WhatsApp was out for a while, and last week Instagram was also out for a while, and this has resulted in them losing some followers and all. So that is one another thing. I guess the slide is missing. So that's all for today. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Now let's move on to the main session, which will be led by Febna V M, who is an AI security specialist at Beagle Security. So the session will cover important topics like the importance of cybersecurity, AI, deep learning, behavioral analytics, and much more. So stay tuned. Over to you, Febna.
Hi. Am I audible? Yes. Okay. Uh, okay. So good afternoon, everyone. So I'm Febna. I'm working as an AI security specialist at Beagle Security for the past 2 years. So today we are going to discuss about some latest cybersecurity technologies that are available right now. So these are some of the topics that we will be discussing today, like AI and deep learning, behavior analytics, embedded hardware authentication, blockchain cybersecurity, and zero trust model. So this is just going to be a 30 minute or 45 minutes of presentation or session. So we are not going to deeper into every topic, just discussing some introductory part. Okay, so the major question is why cybersecurity is important. Another students or working people among us? You are working, of course. Student, okay. So anybody working in artificial intelligence or blockchain available aware about all these topics? No? Yeah, I think. Okay. So beginning with why cybersecurity is really important right now. We know that our industries are developing, right? Our businesses are growing, our needs are growing, so as the businesses. So all of these businesses, industries are dealing with a lot of data, like personal data, financial data, or any other data. So how they deal with all these data? Are they safe or secure? They have a lot of customer data, like our email address, our Aadhaar card, or our personal security number. All these data are with them, and we trust them, right? So we don't know how they are going to deal with all these data, whether they are secure or not. So it's really important to secure all this data, because if any kind of data leak or data breach is happening, then we are just giving out our data. Like uh, any attacker could compromise our entire system or even an entire organization. So in order to keep all these data safe and secure, we need to implement some mechanism. We need to provide some proper access control mechanism, or we need to secure all these data. So that is how a cybersecurity is really important in order to implement it in an organization, whether it is a small business or a large scale. Everywhere, data is really precious. So these are some of the latest hacking news. Where Okay, as you can see, Bush confirms data breach after hackers steal 72 million of user records. Bush is like a company of motorcycles, I think, and they have stored a lot of customer data, their personal data like email address or any other small amount of payment card incident data also. So all these 72 million data were leaked, where they were hacked and then sent out in a database. The database were actually for put on a selling. So and Canadian supermarket chain giant Sobeys suffered a ransomware attack. So it's a largest supermarket in Canada, and it has actually a lot of branches over 40 countries, I think. And all these they have suffered a massive ransomware attack that actually. Yeah. Yeah. So their businesses were down for 2-3 days, I think. And Mississippi election websites knocked out by DDoS attack, which is a distributed denial of service attack. That means their websites were down for a long time and they were not available to any other customers. And Ukrainian activists claim to leak draft documents from Russian central bank. So a lot of customer their employee data, like former employees and current employee data, and some of the customers' data, financial data, all these data were leaked by some hackers. So the uh, as you can see that it's just for 1 week, it just happened to 3 to 4 days ago. Similarly, we can see a lot of update like this. Day by day, hackers are increasing, and they are playing with all these kind of data. Like so many attacks are increasing day by day. They are very much interested, not just for financial, but actually they do this for pleasure also. They does not gain for not for only money. They need to what they do is just to targeting an organization or targeting some kind of people. Okay, so I think I think that cybersecurity. What we need is to implement a stronger mechanism in order to save and secure all these data. So we can use a lot of mechanisms, and we can implement a lot of technologies in order to ensure that these data are secure. And for that, we have a lot of options too. And one of the main thing is an artificial intelligence and deep learning. So as you know that AI has uh, secured a lot of place in this industry in these days. Like AI has been implemented in multiple industries from financial to healthcare. You can see that. Yeah. So what is with artificial intelligence? It's actually simulating the human behavior, like how human thinks and how they are doing things. How it's actually mimicking their actions, and they are training the machines to think like humans and to do their actions, to programming the computers to think like them and to act like them. So that is artificial intelligence. And deep learning is a subset of artificial intelligence, in which we are telling our computers to do like this, and we are training them using ML, like a machine, deep learning. Like we are training the machines with a huge amount of unstructured data, whether it may be text or a video or image. We are using those data in order to train them, and then they actually learn from all these data in order to adapt to these new data, and then they will be mimicking the action, like what humans will be doing with all this data. Machines will be doing like that. They will be they will be viewing those images, text, or whether video. You can see whether we have video surveillance systems, and we have what number plate detection system currently for traffic system. They have implemented like that, and fraud detection system. All these are implementing are implemented using AI or deep learning or any other techniques. So how artificial intelligence can be actually used in cybersecurity? So organization right now think that they need AI. They are in need of AI in order to detect all the cyber threats and fraud detections that are happening in the organization. Like suppose we have a organization and they have their own cybersecurity team. So they will be analyzing what. Yeah. Yeah. So the organization is having their own cybersecurity team. So they will be analyzing the traffic of each day traffic, what users are actually doing with their website, or what they are surfing, how much data is being seen by users. So all these, if an attack or any other data leaks happening at one time, I think they could not handle that. If there's a huge amount of data breach is happening, or a huge amount of requests are coming to their server suddenly, the cyber analysts need to ensure that all of these traffics are legitimate or not. So if the attack is happening at the same time with a huge data breach or a huge impact on the organization, actually what they need is their manpower. So they could not even actually they could not they have to implement a lot of resources. They have to take a lot of time implementing in detecting all these attacks. So they think that they need other than a power which is other than the manpower. So they need a lot of resources, they need a lot of people in order to determine whether the attack has happened or not, or whether the how to detect all these whether have to detect whether an attack has happened or not. Okay. And of half say that the cybersecurity analysts are overwhelmed because they have a lot of work to do manually. It's really complicated thing to do. It's really complicated to ensure that is it an attack from an insider or an outsider, whether all the requests that are passing through are legitimate or not. Okay. And it's also impossible to investigate all these incidents. Suppose that if an organization is experiencing a huge amount of requests from almost 10,000s or millions of billions, then the analyst could not even handle that request at that time, because if the attack is happening, if the attacker is successful in gaining or compromising the system, he could get access to all the important assets of an organization, like all the customer data, all the employee data, all these things. So if the attacker is successfully compromised the system or organization, then it would have a negative impact on the entire organization, like all its branches, its reputation will go. There will be a lot of loss. There are loss in the profit, all these things. So in order to maintain, or in order to control all these from occurring these things, they should actually implement some strong mechanism other than their manpower, like other than their security analysts, they need some external helping too. So for that case, you can actually implement artificial intelligence. So how organizations are benefiting from AI in cybersecurity? So how AI helps? AI actually lowers the cost to detect and respond to breaches. Like if a security breach has happened, and then they need to look into the traffic, they need to investigate the traffic, or they need to investigate all the logs on the server, then actually there's hundreds of billions of logs are there. So we could not actually, a man could not handle all these requests at the same time, because we have a limited time and we have to complete all these within that particular limited time. So in order to uh, complete all these things, they need to complete, in order to implement a proper monitoring system, they need the help of an artificial intelligence. They could actually implement a model which is trained upon using all these anomalies, and that would actually tell whether the attack has actually happened or not, or the attack is real or not. If it can also detect false positives, it can actually tell whether any of the security data breach has happened. Okay, so AI makes organization faster at responding to breaches. So if a man is actually monitoring the system, sometimes he will not notify or notice all the misconfigurations or all the security breaches are happening. So somehow he has to be alerted, like if a security breach is happening, he has to be instantly notified of that security breach. So in order to create an alert system, in order to alert the authorities that a security breach is going to happen, what we need is to implement a model, like yeah, I will tell that later. And AI results in higher efficiency for cyber analysts. Like efficiency is really important. If someone is using a false if a false positive is happening, false positive is okay, like it will like it's false, it's really danger if a false negative is happening, like a security breach has actually happened but they are not aware of it. But if a false positive is coming, it's okay, like okay, so it was a false positive then, but we will be ensuring that no more security breaches are going to happen. So a false positive is okay, but in order not to respond to a false negative is something which is have a greater risk. And AI results in new revenue streams through cybersecurity offerings. Like it can be implemented not only for this anomaly detection, it can also be used in fraud detection, malware detection. All these things can be handled using AI. So, okay. So these are some of the applications that are that artificial intelligence has been implemented, like security screening. Security screening means if I think US Homeland Security has implemented a security screening using artificial intelligence, which is Avatar. So Avatar actually it's an AI-based system. It's a virtual face that will be asking questions to the person sitting right in front of it. So it will be monitoring how the person is responding to each of these questions. Their facial expressions will be monitored, their voice tone will be monitored. So it will be actually checking, it will be recording all these things and will be checking with the with its recorded they have already tagged something like if any change in the facial expressions are there, any voice tone. So the system is actually trained on that. So if any of these change is noticed in the voice tone or the facial expression of that person, then that person will be tagged as a suspicious one. And later on, the police can work on that particular person. So that is about a security screening and security and crime prevention. We know that our police has been developing some crime prevention mechanisms using artificial intelligence. They like we have a grapnel, which is using AI. So it's about yeah. Yeah, which is a dark web crawler. So we will be using artificial intelligence in order to ensure that, in order to search through the images, videos that are available. Okay. Analyze mobile endpoints. Google has a mobile endpoint analyzing mechanism using artificial intelligence. They will be recording how the users are using or how the users are handling all this data. And then AI powered threat detection. Like it's like when an organization is undergoing any threat or any security breach, so we can develop a model using artificial intelligence and deep learning techniques in order to determine real-time threat detection. Like when a threat is happening or when the organization is under the risk, then the AI model will be notifying the entire organization in order to perform necessary actions. And the detection of sophisticated cyber attacks, like there are zero-day attacks. Like zero-day attacks are attacks that are happening at that time, and we don't have any particular mitigation for that. So for that amount of time. So in order to detect all these kind of zero-day attacks or any other kind of attacks, we can use artificial intelligence. And then reducing the threat response time. Like I have said earlier, if a threat or risk is happening, then we have to notify the organization regarding that. And thus we can actually reduce the response time. We do not need not don't need to wait for any other manpower. Like we don't need to wait for consultation from any other authorities. Organization can actually or quickly make enough procedures in order to reduce that risk. So these are some of the applications in cybersecurity. So we know that AI has a lot of advantages right now because it has been using in multiple industries, like from financial to healthcare. All these industries are using AI. But what if an adversary or an attacker has been using AI? Like we are using AI as a defensive mechanism. What if the attacker is using an AI for an offensive? Like he has actually changed his mechanism from normal way of attacking to using advanced techniques. Like so if a normal attacker could actually, are you aware of some man in the middle attack? Okay. So there are a lot of cybersecurity vulnerabilities that are available, like in the web application or in a mobile application or anything. Like if a developer has to code something in order to develop a web application, right? So he has, if somehow he will be making some mistakes, like in the login authentication mechanism or in the access control mechanism, like that. So actually, these vulnerabilities could lead to a large amount of data breach. Like if an attacker could use and any other credentials in order to log into the system, that's a vulnerability. If the attacker could actually use his account and then gain access to any other person's account, then it is a vulnerability. So there are a lot of vulnerabilities in a web application itself. So how and in order to compromise a system, attacker, you can use malware, virus, worms, trojans. There are a lot of categories like that. So if and we have been implementing a mechanism in order to detect all these ransomware, virus, malware, etc. So we have some malware detection programs, we have some ransomware detection programs, all this. But what if the attacker is implementing an artificial intelligence um, in order to bypass all these detection mechanism? Like he could actually make a malware with an AI-powered engine, and he will be actually changing the malware in order to be not to be detected by the detection mechanism. Like we will be using some signature-based mechanisms. Like if an malware is coming, the detection will be based on the signature. Like we will be searching through a lot of normal behavior, how a malware behaves. So the attacker made AI-powered malware will be actually changing its form, changing its signature at that particular time so that it could not be detected. So if an attacker is actually implementing AI in order to develop an malware that could actually change its behavior in a real system, when it comes to a real system, then it would have a negative impact. So so the first drawback is the resources. Like in order to develop a strong AI mechanism, like we have a artificial intelligence can be of two types, like a strong artificial intelligence and a weak artificial intelligence. So weak AI is based on is for a simple task. For performing some simple task, we can use a weak AI. But in order to develop a complex human-like action, like in order to develop a strong mechanism, strong system, what we need is a strong artificial intelligence. So thus what we need is a lot of resources, a lot of time we will be taking, a lot of manpower will be needed. So that is one drawback of AI, that we will be needing a lot of resources. So in order to develop a perfect strong AI developed model, we need a lot of resources, and we need to put a lot of energy on that. Okay, so we could not tell that any of the AI model will be working perfectly 100. Yeah. 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 Mm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm. Yeah. Mm. Mm.
These kinds of things. So there might be also common problems done by developers itself. A lot of time I have seen like developers will keep the access key without keeping an environment variable, they will keep inside the code. So how can we teach a computer this is certain kind of a behavior which can lead to a vulnerable situation
Yeah, that's
in
a
a large scale?
yeah, that is the problem. Like what we need in order to train a model is we need to need a lot of data. Like if there is a vulnerability is occurring, what we need is to teach that system, like these kind of behaviors will be happening in when attack is occurring. So that is a I think that is a one of the drawback of an AI. Like what how we need to collect all these data. Like if there are a lot of malwares, then we need to collect how the malwares will be affecting our system, how what other changes will be happening. All this should be recorded. So that is one of the drawback of AI. Like these kind of data are not simply available just like images or videos or text. We can actually develop system using for text detection, for image detection. That is really simple. But in case if this AI is coming into cybersecurity, it's really complicated. Like all this data is not available. If it should be collected from a real life attack, like right. So that is one of the limitation of AI. But in order to train such a system, what we need some server logs or how these data is changing, how the system has been changed. So all this should be recorded, and all these data are not easily available. So so training a model is a little bit of complicated task. So what we need is a lot of data that will take a lot of time. That's how if a cybersecurity company is implementing AI in its own organization, then it is going to be a tedious task, because they need lots of years of work that in order to make that such a system. So that's really that's one of the drawback of AI that you have mentioned. Yeah. Okay, so that's what I've been telling, like data set. So collecting the data set for training such a model is really complicated. Like for a text detection, we have a lot of text available. For image detection, we can check out all images images are easily available. There are thousand Alexa set of URLs are available. You can train URLs also. But what is really tedious is we need to collect data related to the vulnerabilities. Like when an actual attack is happening, what changes are happening on the system, what changes are happening on the server, how the malware behaves, all these should be recorded. So that is really complicated one. And then hackers also use AI. Like I said earlier, if it's a simple malware, then we can detect. But if the attacker is actually using an AI-powered malware, then it is actually changing its behavior according to, in order to bypass that detection mechanism. So that is also really one of the drawback of AI. And neural fuzzing means, uh, you know that an artificial intelligence, a model is made up of a neural network. So what if an attacker could actually change that neural network, poison that neural network, then it will be having a negative impact on the system itself, on the AI model itself. So hacker can use all these methods in order to tamper or poison the AI model too. So these are some of the drawbacks of AI. Now, that's the malicious side of AI. As I have told earlier, there's an AI dataset poisoning. Like, the attacker will be poisoning the dataset itself. Like, he could actually tamper the system in order to add his own malware signature into the dataset that we will be using to train the system. The attacker can be an insider or an outsider. So these kind of things will tamper the entire AI model. And when an attacker is actually sending the payload or sending the malware, then the model will be not detecting that particular malware as as the odd one. Okay. And then there are AI powered malware where they could actually change the behavior of how they will be behaving normally. And they are AI driven spear phishing. So phishing is actually when when you are receiving an email from a bank or any other organization. It looks like a legitimate one, it looks like an original one, but actually it is not. So the attacker is actually sending a phishing email, sending it to tell that you have to send your credentials, you have to send me the OTP, you have to send me your bank details in order to give you that such things like that. So if an attacker could actually, if the attacker is targeting on a particular audience, on a particular people, like who are really into the social media, or who are really in the financial area. So if the attacker is targeting on a particular group of people, then that is called spear phishing. So AI powered spear phishing means, so in real spear phishing, an attacker is sending his email manually to a person. In AI-driven spear phishing, an attacker will be actually using models in order to send multiple emails to the multiple users. Like, he will be targeting a large group of people. So it can actually, so if he is sending a lot of emails to a lot of people, then 10% of them will be not will be normal people. So they will be actually clicking on that link, they will be sending their credentials. So chances are the, so impact on using AI powered spear phishing rather than the normal spear phishing is really great. Like, he can actually get the credentials of the customers, and he can and compromise their accounts, they can do whatever he can do with that. So that is one of the malicious side of AI. And then deep face scams. We know that there are deep face, we have a face recognition systems, like right in an organization, maybe for a company, they will be entering into their company with their face, they have already recorded their face. So if the face matches, then he will be asked to enter into the system. So similarly, there are deep fake scams, like it can be images, it can be text, it can be video, it can be audio. Everything will be fake. We will think that it is original, but it's not. It's actually developed using a strong AI mechanism in order to be they look like a legitimate one, but it's actually not. So deep fake scams are also happening all these years. So that is one thing about artificial intelligence. And the second technology is behavior analytics. So behavior analytics, you might have noticed when you are searching some application, like YouTube. So they will be sending suggestions for you, like based on your previous search. If a food delivery app is giving suggestions to you regarding a food or any other item, because based on your previous order. So they will be recording how the user is actually using their application. So this is known as behavior analytics. They will be analyzing how the user is using the app, what are the things that a user is searching on their application. All these things are recorded. So based on this analytics, they will be sending suggestions to the user. So this is behavior analytics. Actually, this traditionally implemented on customer service and user experience, but it can actually use in cybersecurity. How it is used in cybersecurity? Like I have said earlier, we have a when we are dealing with some malwares, they will be have a common behavior, like how they are entering into the system, what are the changes that are happening to the system. So for each malware, it is different. So we will be recording all these things, like how the malware is behaving. All these things will be recorded, and then we will using that data in order to determine when this malware comes again, we will detect that a particular, it will be tagged as a particular malware. So this is one thing. We can also analyze the user experience, like the particular user or the behavior of the endpoint devices or the network. All this traffic or the how the user is searching, whether it is in an organization, the inside all the, you know, the inside employees or the outside users, both the activities can be actually logged. So they will be monitoring all these behaviors in order to analyze it and then determine whether a behavior is legitimate or not. But if a change, if any peak in the graph is shown, then they will be marking it as an attack or any suspicious activity. So that's how a behavior analytics can be used. And then now the benefits of using behavior analytics, like smarter security monitoring. Like I have said earlier, then they will be, we will be having a lot of records of the previous attack. So the security monitoring will be much easier because we have a lot of we have a lot of recorded behaviors of the malwares, ransomware, spyware, anything like that. So if an attack is coming or if an attack is going to happen, then we can actually notify whether the attack is happening or not. And then we generate insights for asking right questions, like if an attack is happening or if an alert is popped up, then we will be checking what kind of attack is that, which user has generated that kind of attack. All these questions will be rising up. So it will actually we will be searching more and more about that kind of attack, or if any future attacks will be coming on, future attacks will be happening or not. All these things will be questioned. Capacity to correlate data across system. So when we are monitoring, what we need to monitor is not the user itself. We need to monitor user, endpoint devices, network, etc. So all these three things should be correlated in order to develop a perfect behavior analytics tool. Okay, and automate and avoid using manpower. Like so in these days, what we need is something that is, we are more into automation. Like we are not not going to do repetitive tasks. Like it will be tiring. We will be looking into more flexible mechanisms. Like if automations are much greater in any field, like there are automated cars, automated systems that automatic employee registration, all those things are happening. So if we could create a behavior analytic tool that will be actually helpful, then we will be automating all these tasks, like alerting, creating alerts, and notifying the authorities, responding corresponding authorities. All these things can be automated. So we are more into automation, so we can actually reduce the manpower required in order to perform that task. And then we have okay, open the doors to powerful analytics and machine learning models. Like when we are developing something, uh, what we actually do is to uh, improve that thing, like improve that particular model. We need to do something more than that. So if if we have implemented a model and we need to actually improve the model, like actually putting more data into it, actually putting more analytics to it. So what this gives is a lot of there are a lot of area of improvements are the if any model is created, we could actually improve day by day, because attackers are improving their techniques day by day. They are going to use a lot of techniques. They are going to develop a lot of attacks. New vulnerabilities are developing each day. So what we need to do is not to stick on to a single model. We need to improve that model too. So we need to actually update all these records. We need to actually update all the attacks, new attacks, how the attackers are doing it, how they're dealing with it. All these things should be notified. And next one is embedded hardware authentication, which is not a latest technology, which is actually it's a few years back. It has actually developed a few years back, I think 2016 itself. So embedded hardware authentication is actually not, we are not sticking on to pin, like pin and password. When we are when we are accessing a device, we will be entering our pin or a password or any other authentication credentials. So we are not using any of these local mechanism. We are actually embedding a authentication mechanism to the hardware itself. Like there were Pro V chips, Windows Hello. So Windows Hello will be using the Intel chips will be Intel chips were using some mechanism in order to actually what notify the user via Bluetooth, I think. So when we are actually getting access to the system, they were actually notifying the user in order to ensure that the user has been on a particular desk or not. So they will be sending a notification in order to enter a pin, enter a pin, or to what to just press on yes. It's like what Google has been doing. Like if you're using a multi-factor authentication, then they will be sending us a mechanism like into our in our phone, like it's yes, it's me, or if we are not accessing it, then you can just cancel it. So just like that, Vpro chips have been using this mechanism. I think it's not available right now. So that is one other mechanism that can be used in order to secure our data. So this hardware authentication mechanism has been used in order to ensure that the data generated by the device itself is not compromised, because the right person has access to the data. So in order to ensure that, embedded hardware authentications can be used. Now, blockchain, it's really a vast area, just like artificial intelligence. So, have you ever worked with the blockchain? Are you aware of? I think some of the people will be from KB, Kerala Blockchain Academy, I think. Hmm? Okay. So,
Can you explain about what blockchain is in like some
yeah,
less words?
yeah. So, a blockchain is actually like blockchain actually has been implemented in a lot of industries. It's actually like a distributed ledger, just like. So why the name blockchain is that we believe basically we will be entering our data to some system, just like a normal database. So what actually the normal database has, we can actually tamper the data, like we could actually change the data. We could actually input our own data into that without permissions, without authority. So what blockchain does is, it's like a distributed ledger. uh, and so if I it's just like all the data, sorry, each data that get added to that particular chain. So each data will be taken as a node. So each node has its own data that will be stored, and also the summary of the previous node. So if we are adding some new data into that chain, then chain will be actually having that particular data and the summary of the previous data. So these get added to that chain, particular chain. And okay, so that's how a blockchain actually works. It's actually based on a peer-to-peer network and cryptography. Like if we have a distributed group of people, then each people in that group has access to that particular database. So that's how it works. And if a data is added, there is something called so each data is secured using cryptography. Like if someone is adding a data to it, the data is actually encrypted using the private key. So you know the private key, public key. Okay, I will be telling that. So basically, how a blockchain works is, suppose that we have a voting system. Like we have our election ID card, we have our person security number, all this data. So if we are going to if we are going to make any change in that card, we need to notify our central authority, right? So in order to change all these data, there is only a central authority, and that central authority can make changes in that system. Hmm? But in case of blockchain, we can consider it as a distributed ledger, like it is distributed across a group of people. It could be thousands of people or hundreds or any other group of people. So if one has to make a change in the data, then he needs the consent of all these people. Like it's actually distributed among all the people. So it is actually breaking the system of central authority. It's not centralized, it is more into distributed thing. So if one is changing the data, he has to notify, or it has to be consent. He has to get the consent by all the other peers in that network. So he could not actually tamper any of the data. One cannot enter into the network, and one cannot enter anything into the database. It's actually passes through a lot of procedure in order to add that data into that particular database. So that is how a blockchain works. And and main thing in a blockchain is that there is a proof of work, or it can be said that proof of computing. You can say that like that. Like if a database is entered in, if a new record is added to the database, it actually has to pass a particular computing algorithm that is actually developed. That was actually developed. So if the proof of work is done, or if the proof of work is completed, he can actually add that into the database, and it has to be consent by more than 51% of the peers in that peer-to-peer network. That is how a data is added. So blockchain is considered to be more secure than any other normal database, because actually works on the basis of cryptography. It actually works on the basis of proof of work. So all these could may ensure that blockchain is more secure than any other thing. So blockchain is actually has been implemented in voting system. So in order not to tamper any of the votes that are done by the people. So all this done, all these things like hospitals or automated system, car automated systems, all these are using blockchain in order to secure their data. So blockchain is considered to be more secure than any other thing, but actually blockchain also has some vulnerabilities. Like we think that if an attacker could not tamper the data, attacker could not enter any of the data into the database without the consent of other people. But actually there are the attacker itself is able to perform some attacks on blockchain, and one of them is Sybil attack. So Sybil attack is actually manipulating the peer-to-peer network. He is actually uh, attacking the network itself. He will be forming some false identities in the network itself. So for an observer, it will be a normal peer-to-peer network, normal normal people, like it's like a normal normal behavior. But actually it is not. He will be actually controlling those fake identities, like he will be having access to all these. One attacker will be controlling all these fake identities. So this attack could actually tamper the entire cryptography, entire system, entire blockchain system. And we have a DDoS attacks on blockchain. Like DDoS means distributed denial of service. We know that blockchain is a peer-to-peer network. So if the access is denied to one person, or if we could not, if he is sending multiple requests, he will be using bots for that. So if he send a multiple requests for that, then one on the peer-to-peer network could not actually get access to that particular database. So thus he could perform some distributed denial of service attacks. And another one is 51% of attack. This is actually more this is actually having more impact on the blockchain system. Like the attacker will be okay. So the attacker will be double spending double spending um, in each of the peer-to-peer in each of the peers there will be having some currency, digital currency with them. So in that, one node can actually authorize other node in order to use their digital currency. So that is UTOX, unspent digital currency. So if the attacker could actually double spend those digital currency, then he's actually tampering that system. Like it can be only used once in a while, but he's actually using that twice, and that will be getting concern from the 51% of the peer because he's having a real identity. So at that time, that could actually tamper the whole blockchain system, that where he could get access to the digital currencies of other persons. Like he will be spending that digital currency twice. So it's actually a bit complicated attack that one need to know deep into blockchain, but I'm not that much deep into blockchain. I'm working on cybersecurity and artificial intelligence, so I don't know much about how these attacks is going to work. I have not done that. So this has also a great impact on the blockchain. So when we consider that blockchain, some of the organization consider that blockchain is cannot be tampered, it is immutable, but still there are attacks happening on blockchain. So even if it is an emerging technology, our attackers are developing their own technologies in order to tamper all these systems. Not every system is not perfect. Like the one day or other, the attacker will be finding a new method to enter or compromise that system. So we cannot say that blockchain is also 100% secure. So this is also, but blockchain has been implemented by saying that it is actually secure, and it's actually used in order to prevent any of the threat attacks on in database. So, and the last one is zero trust model. So basically what an organization does is they trust everybody, and but they will be verifying it. If it is, they'll be verifying whether it only when they consider it as not, it is not as a legitimate thing. So zero trust model has been implemented in many organizations. Like they will not be trusting anything, like anything in on the anything in on the traffic will be considered as a malicious one. They will be suspecting everything and they will be verifying everything on their organization. So that is zero trust model. It's actually a framework that has been developed in order to ensure in order to improve their cyber defense mechanism. Um, like they will not be trusting their own users, their own customers, their own employees. They will be suspecting internal and both the internal and external activities. All this will be monitored. Like they will not be trusting upon their own employees, like their own employees itself. Like they will be analyzing their traffic too, whether they are tampering the system. They will be analyzing the user behavior. They will be analyzing the each day traffic they're coming to their system. All these things will be monitored. So zero trust model has been developed in order to strengthen our defense mechanism. Like we will be defending everything. Any of the attacks should not be happen. So that kind of a model is a zero trust model. So we will be traditionally what we have been using is trust but verify. But today what we are going to do is to never trust and verify, never trust on anything, because anything can be looking a legitimate one, but it cannot be an legitimate one, it can be a malicious one. So we cannot test, we could not trust anything. So never trust and verify everything. That's how organizations could be more you know, more secure. Like they can implement a lot of things in order to improve their defense mechanism, improve their cyber security controls. So how? So that is how these are some of the technologies that can be used in order to improve their defense mechanism. So that's it. Yeah. Thank you. So hope you have got something from this session. Like, it's actually a vast topic. It could not be actually included in this 30-45 minutes. So if you have any doubts, you can ask me, like what can be done in artificial intelligence or anything.
So no questions.
Yeah.
Ma'am, in East blocks, I have one doubt regarding that blockchain attacks. So in East blocks, there are like headers and body, like so there will be hashing, that SHA 256 hashing. So
Yeah,
I think it's like secure one. So how much time it takes? Like, this is a strong hashing now. How much time it takes to manipulate this whole network, that blockchain network, that 51% attack?
Yeah, 51% attack is actually not it's not actually tampering the hashing, because hashing is immutable, you know that. It cannot be reversed back. So what the attacker will be doing is actually creating his own private chain. He will not be broadcasting that to the that particular database. He will be broadcasting that only when the 51% of network has been sent a consent to that consent to that particular ledger. Like, he will be spending that digital currency, and after that he will be creating his own private chain. He will be mining from his own private chain. Then after that consent has got, then he will be broadcasting that particular ledger to the public chain. So that is how basically it works. Hashing is actually not immutable. Even if he is trying to do that, then it could actually take a lot of time. Like, he need to change that proof of work, things like that. So it's really complicated when it comes to hashing. But what an attacker can do is to create his own private chain.
Ma'am, at some point he's creating a new chain, right?
Yeah.
So he should have the other hashing of blocks before that, right?
Yeah. Of course, he has to tamper that, but I think it will be taking a lot of time. Like, hash is not something that we cannot revert easily. I'm not actually aware of that particular topic, but it's a difficult.
So
It's a
Maninder
vast
and
area.
Raja is also there. Come forward, Maninder, Raja and team. Yeah.
Cannot be the block. Once we do it, the block, it creates a new block. It is new immutable. What hackers do is aware of smart contracts, right? Smart contracts. Yes. So there are smart contracts. They will write there will be a vulnerability in the smart contracts which the developer has developed. So they will write something, take the code from there. They write a smart contract to take this much Ethereum from this smart contract and put in this account. So it goes like that. The block will be there. We will be able to see it, but we won't be. But we can hack it. I don't know whether you got it correctly or not. Yeah.
That aware of that smart contracts. That's why.
Smart contracts is something in Ethereum blockchains and things that happen like that. So that is one thing we can do, but it is immutable. It will be there only. We can't do anything.
Okay, sir. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir.
For example, a smart contract is something like you can specify like a will after. So smart contract it's a simple program. What actually it does is, like, if you have a will, you have to give some Ethereum to one of your friend after your death or some kind of events. So you can create the system. The system will be keeping it, and without any human interaction or a middleman, when the event comes, when the time happens, it will automatically transfers, and it can't be like tampered because it's a blockchain. It can, but normally it's hard to. So if you want to do something in future, you can create these kinds of contracts. Yeah, that's it. That's just an application of blockchain.
So initially you mentioned about the chain splitting, right? So you can actually split a chain, but in systems like Bitcoin, on the Bitcoin paper, you have proof of work. So like you said, it is correct. We need to have the hash of the previous block on the current block so that it is valid. So if you want to split the chain, then you have to have all the blocks on the other chain on this chain also to keep on to add the transaction, because the longest chain will always be the correct chain. So in proof of work, you have to have more mining power than the whole network or the current mining miners to like sabotage the chain and create a fork. So that is what happens in proof of work systems. But right now we also have proof of stake systems, which don't like compete, but actually the validators are judged based on the stake. So it's actually a different algorithm right now. So there are different algorithms and different techniques to add a block to the chain. So the proof of work is one of it, and what you said is true. You can do it. Is that the question?
Sure.
Thank you. Any other questions? Very simple question, random questions you can ask. Akshay. So we are having a session on cyber security, right? Right? Okay, so you might have some personal question like how to keep yourself or your systems secure. Anything that you can ask, something related to the topic. After 1.5 hours, you should have some questions, right? Can you go back to the slides, please?
Yeah. Sure. So there are students, right? You
Yes, majority
might
of
be
students,
curious
yeah.
about what cybersecurity
So you
is,
are
how the
you are doing
field-
cybersecurity there. What is the course that you are doing at Future? Artificial intelligence students, and she already talked about different
So,
attacking methods of AA. So you can go back to that. They are AA students. Their questions is on AA part.
so what have you done any projects on artificial intelligence? So no, you haven't. Oh, just students. Okay. So you have you're just going through the theory part, not working on your own. Not you're not working on your own regarding those how a model is developing, how we are collecting data, all these basic steps. You're just okay. Okay.
So I have a question.
So you can actually what?
You're saying something right now.
Yeah, should
Yeah. So we talked about how AI can help in cybersecurity, right? So is there an instance where hackers try to sabotage existing AI models? Like, for example, there would be an AI agent working to like for the benefit of some company. And are there any current known attacks of any running AI model?
Actually, as I have said earlier, there are AI-powered malwares. Like they will be changing their behavior according to the model. Like model will be
There we are using AI to aid the
Yeah.
cybersecurity.
So actually, it's going to be AI versus AI. Like the attacker will be implementing his own AI in order to in order to change the malware, in order to tamper the detection system. So it's actually going to be a fight between AI and AI. Like he has to implement some mechanism in order to change the how the malware is going to work, how the detection mechanism is going to detect the AI. It has to be known. Like there seems to be some non malware behavior, like so he needs to change that behavior when it comes to the real system. So that's how the attackers has been doing. I think there has been some incidents so far. I'm not quite aware about the real incident, but it has happened before.
Yeah, so my question is on the other side. So suppose you have an AI model running, for example, some recommendation system. So are there any attacks on these kinds of systems? You're a company running a recommendation model. So what kind of attacks are there any right now?
Yes, I have said earlier there are malwares, and then we have a deep fake systems. Like they could actually tamper. Like there's a face recognition model that they will be developing in order to implement. Like in order to implement an authentication mechanism, like he will be recognizing the face, like so the attacker could actually make a deep face in order to tamper that face recognition system. He could actually enter into the organization or a particular device using by tampering that. So I think deep face scams have been happening all these years right now. Like it's actually gaining its power over all those AI models. So deep face scam is something that has happened before. like tampering that model. So that's one thing.
Okay.
And then that malware case. Am I aware of all?
Okay. Yeah. That makes sense. Thank you.
You talked about something poisoning the network or neural network.
Yeah, poisoning the neural networks. It could actually tamper. So the neural network will be working on a particular data, right? So the attacker will be changing that attacker will be changing, adding his own data to that neural network while training that system. If an attacker could get access to that system before at that particular system before uh, training, then he could actually add his own data to that data set. So the neural network will be working on that data set. So when the neural network is actually getting into model, then that model could not detect that malware, that like the attacker has already compromised that system. So he could not. So the malware that he will be sending will not be detected. So poisoning that neural network itself could get access to that system. So that is one thing that has happened, I think, earlier. So there are these mechanisms like AI malware.
That's it. So only during the training, this AI system can be attacked.
Yeah, during the training, or just I have said earlier that deep face, if he is using a face recognition model, then he can, the attacker could use a deep face scam.
So what is
uh,
this deep face scam? That is what she was asking. Yeah, in detail. You already mentioned, right?
Deep fake means if it's an image, if it can be an image, audio, or video. There are so many videos in LinkedIn, um, uh, uh, Barack Obama or any other that kind of famous persons are actually speaking something that they're not intending to speak. So they are actually faking the real personality, the real identity. So it can be an image or a face or an audio, my voice will be mimicked by some other one. So it can be a text, it can be an image, it can be video. All this can be faked. There are fake videos or fake images, fake audios. So these are deep fakes. Using a deep learning mechanism, they will be mimicking, or they will be stealing the identity of the original one. So that is a deep fake.
Okay,
So-
deep fake. That is so. For example, if there is a face recognition system, and like it is just like
Like if
if,
this
if,
company,
if it is online, or for example auto tagging in social media things, like it shows the person's
yeah,
image and all. So which this deep fake, this attack, like what sort of implementation or where can it happen in a real use case?
real use case, there has been a, I think there has been a video of some other person, I don't remember his name. Like if I can change, I can make a video like you are saying something, and I can post it in social media. So if it is something related to your company, or anything, your personal thing, then it can make your reputation loss, like that. So I can just make a video of any other personality, or any other big person,
Yeah, that is not attacking any AI system. It
yeah.
is just like it is in the social media that can create some damage and all. I'm asking, like, is there anything that attacking a AI system, some AI use cases where this deepfake can,
Using this deep fake,
yeah,
I'm not quite aware of that actually.
yeah.
Punching systems, something like that. Could it be used for maybe punching systems that use Face ID, things like that? For example, access to this
Yeah.
office. Could
Yeah.
it be used to fake that?
Yeah, we will use this fingerprint. There are fingerprint mechanisms are there, and face recognitions are implemented some organization. So that could be actually faked, but we could actually um, what tampering that system itself. I'm not quite aware of that. It's actually some difficult. It's going to be deep learning mechanisms. I'm not into that area.
Okay, and you mentioned about blockchain, you mentioned about AI and all. So IoT systems,
Internet.
like is the like it is going to be a period where like even autonomous cars communicating to each other and all those things happen, and there is the biggest risk, right?
Yeah.
So like regarding the cyber security space, what are the things that students have to know about that part?
In IoT. Recently there has been an incident where the GPS tracker of an automatic car has been hacked. Like the entire system was shut down. He could actually shut down the system itself. So IoT devices, physically protecting the device is not a thing, but we could actually implement mechanisms in order to strengthen that request that we are sending on IoT device. Like uh, earlier, what we have done a Cocoon. I think Manindra has done an IoT hacking.
Yeah, what I did was a lock which was controlled by an IoT device. So anyone can, hack into it, turn on the lock, and see what is inside it. So it is a locker box. So what we can basically it is IoT device is going to be a program, right? It is a running a program, and some developer has written the code for it. So while writing the code, there will be a vulnerability which he, without knowing, left it there. So as an attacker, once I get into the network, I scan for the things where I can find a small loophole. So it is basically on the developer's hand to put up the security measures for anyone else to. There are measures whether we are not able to, as an attacker, not able to get into the system, and it is not 100%, 100% implementable thing, because in a couple of days or months or a year, someone is going to break into it because they have better technology in their hands. So it is a continuous process where we find things and fix it, find things and fix it. Yep.
Okay. So and then we should consider like all these IoT has a weaker security system right now as of now.
No, IoT basically what we play with is Raspberry Pis or Arduinos and all. All these things have their own security measures, but the thing is, the code which has a developer who writes the code, he is not aware of the security implementations which has to be done. That is where the vulnerability happens. So it is up to the developer to more make a more secure code. And we can also say there are big servers or softwares which has been written, and there are hundreds of engineers who's testing these, and they might find a vulnerability, and they may publish it. So we have to patch it up. So all these things have to be considered.
Okay. And one more thing, like these are majority are students here. They would love to step into cybersecurity space. They are learning A right now. Majority, all are A students, or what are the other batches here? Beta computer science is there. So how can where should they start? And can you give some to-do list or some roadmap for them to be a cybersecurity expert as you?
Actually, what you can do is just Google it. Like there are a lot of resources available right now. Like
Googling is good, but it is the time of information overload. It gives us a lot of links, lot of things. We do not know which to take, which is not right, and so
firstly, there are some cybersecurity courses available everywhere. Like in Udemy, there are a lot of courses like from scratch. You can actually start from how what a web application is, how the web application is working, how we are getting the data when we are looking into something. So you can start from the scratch itself, and then you can use mechanism to identify. You can just read how what are vulnerabilities, how a web application is working, and there are a lot of vulnerable web application available itself in like from Acunetics, from Google, for education purposes only. So you can actually make use of that. You can study on your own using those applications. and then you can just do some certifications and study a lot. It's just studying a lot and lot more and more, like digging deep into all these things. So if you are really curious about what a cybersecurity is, you can actually start from studying the basic courses like from in Udemy or Coursera. These courses can be done, and you can study on your own using. You can try attacking applications from your on your risk, on your own risk. uh, that's it, and then you can
So
uh,
attacking application on your own risk means
no.
they will be.
I'm not saying like that, like it's for educational purposes only. There are some applications available, so you can make use of that in order to to study that basic things. And then you can consult any other security engineers. You can connect us via LinkedIn. You can ask doubts, questions. You can make use of videos available. So all this can be done.
So isn't there something like OWASP is there, right? They
Yeah,
can they
OWASP is
be
the.
part of OWASP, open source web applications, that community and all? And also we know like there are a lot of people here from Cyberdome,
Mm.
and it is to engage students and come and contribute to the Cyberdome. And also, is it possible for them to also become Cyberdome volunteers or become commandos like Raja Rahim and all? Right now, what is the position? Is it commander? Yeah.
Yep. Febna mentioned, everything is possible, but first thing is your dedication. That's what she tried to mention. Like, uh, so if you are really curious to learn cybersecurity, start from the basics, like how an application works, how to build an application, how to host servers, then move to the cybersecurity side. So, as Jibu mentioned, once you use okay with the basics, you start reading with the OWASP testing guide. There are many other resources in OWASP, but to understand anything in it, you have to know the basics of the other things, like how to host, how to deploy, how to write code. That things you have to. Then only you will understand the things in the OWASP testing guide. So that's the flow. And regarding the Cyberdome, there are many options to contribute. Like usually in Cyberdome Facebook page, usually will publish resource requirements. So if you are interested in that area, you could reply to that email, uh, and they will respond. Which you can contribute in any area like AI front end, back end development. Many resources are required. So it's up to you which area you could contribute.
So as of now in Cyberdome, the grapnel project, I think there is a need for a lot of AI resources, right, to contribute because
AI, I think many of them are AI contributors, but I don't know how many of them are really contributing to the AI part. But as you are students and you are from the beginning stage, maybe you could start with the front end, Angular, and back end development areas. Later on, move to the AI part. So yeah, there are options, but I think there are more than 10 or 12 contributor in the AI area.
so there is a project called grapnel which is being maintained by Cyberdome, and it is developed by a community of experts as well as students across state. There is an event called HackP. It is a hackathon that runs on an annual basis, right? Every year it happens, right? This year there is no HackP. So they are trying to build a scanner for dark web. So can you give some insights on dark web also? So do you know about dark web? Darknet?
I know that actually most. Okay. So I'm Thomas. I'm a final year student. My knowledge about the dark web is very limited. I know that most of the internet is not what we know. It's actually behind that, and the dark web consists of a lot of information. The deep web also, I guess, I'm not sure. Yeah. So the dark web consists of information that is normally not accessible to most internet users. Yeah, it can be exploited as well. A lot of data is on. Yeah, there are a lot of illegal activities that happen on the dark web as well. So it's limited. That's all I know about it.
So does anybody else know anything about dark net or dark web? Have you heard about it? Yes. So just wonder what you actually know about. So Malayalam സംസാരിക്കാൻ മലയാളത്തിൽ സംസാരിക്കാൻ പ്രശ്നമില്ല. കാര്യങ്ങൾ ഭയ ബോർഡിംഗ് is about open interaction and interacting session. എല്ലാവരും അങ്ങോട്ടും ഇങ്ങോട്ടും അറിയുന്ന കാര്യങ്ങൾ സംസാരിച്ച് കാര്യങ്ങൾ ഷെയർ ചെയ്ത് ചർച്ച ചെയ്ത് പോകുന്ന ഒരു വേദിയാണ്. You have to ask questions and tell what you do. Yeah. അത് clear ചെയ്യാം.
എൻ്റെ പേര് അഭിമൽ. ഞാനിവിടെ ജോൺ ഗോക്സ് മെമ്മോറിയൽ CSI ഇൻസ്റ്റിറ്റ്യൂട്ടിൽ തേർഡ് ഇയർ കമ്പ്യൂട്ടർ സയൻസ് സ്റ്റുഡൻ്റ് ആണ്. എനിക്ക് ഇദ്ദേഹം പറഞ്ഞ പോലെ തന്നെ ലിമിറ്റഡ് ആയിട്ടുള്ള നോളജ് ആണ്. നമ്മൾ ഒണിയൻ നെറ്റ്വർക്ക് അതിനെക്കുറിച്ച് കേട്ടിട്ടുണ്ട്. ടോർ ബ്രൗസറിലൂടെ നമ്മൾ ഡാർക്ക് വെബ് ആക്സസ് ചെയ്യാമെന്ന് കേട്ടിട്ടുണ്ട്. പിന്നെ എന്ന് വെച്ചാൽ ഡൊമൈൻ ആദ്യം ഒരു കുറേ ന്യൂമറിക്കൽസ് ഇങ്ങനെ മിക്സ്ഡ് ആയിട്ടുള്ള ന്യൂമറിക്കൽ ആൽഫബറ്റ്സ് ഒക്കെ വന്നിട്ട് ലാസ്റ്റ് ഒരു ഒണിയൻ വരുന്ന ഒരു ഡൊമൈൻ ആയിരിക്കും ഇതിൻ്റെ വെബ്സൈറ്റുകളുടെയൊക്കെ ഒരു ഇതെന്ന് കേട്ടിട്ടുണ്ട്. ആൻഡ് പെട്ടെന്ന് ആർക്കും ആക്സസ്, ഇപ്പോൾ ഐസ്ബർഗിനെ കുറിച്ച് പറയുന്ന പോലെ ഒരു ഭൂരിഭാഗം ഐസ്ബർഗ് നമുക്ക് പുറത്ത് കാണാൻ പറ്റത്തില്ല. അപ്പോൾ ഇന്റർനെറ്റ് അതുപോലെയാണ്. ആൻഡ് ഡീപ്പ് വെബ് ഉണ്ട്. നമ്മുടെ ഈ നെറ്റ്ഫ്ലിക്സിലെ വീഡിയോസ് ഒക്കെ കിടക്കുന്നത് ഡീപ്പ് വെബിലാണെന്ന് കേട്ടിട്ടുണ്ട്. ഐ ഡോണ്ട് നോ എക്സാക്ട്ലി. നമ്മൾ എല്ലാവർക്കും ആക്സസ് ഇല്ലാത്ത ചില സാധനങ്ങൾ ഡീപ്പ് വെബിൽ ഉണ്ടെന്ന് കേട്ടിട്ടുണ്ട്. പിന്നെ ആൻഡ് മിലിറ്ററി ഐറ്റംസ്, മിലിറ്ററി ഡാറ്റ, അങ്ങനെ കുറെ കാര്യങ്ങൾ ഉണ്ടെന്ന് കേട്ടിട്ടുണ്ട്. അപ്പാർട്ട് ഫ്രം ദാറ്റ് ഐ എം നോട്ട്.
So I have done a little bit of research on the dark web security part. So if you, to introduce myself, my name is Mufid. I currently run a company called Limil. I have been in the security industry for like 5-6 years now. So I have done a little bit of research as part of a missing people finding. It was a mission that we started, some of my friends have started to, basically, I will just introduce what dark web is. So basically it's same part of the internet, but to access it, you need to be on the Tor relay. So Tor relay is kind of like, all of you know what VPN is. It's completely different, but it's the same concept. So what happens is that if you are connected to the Tor relay, it's an encrypted relay connection of multiple computers. So let's say I host a website on the dark web. So there's a story about, there's a website called Silk Road. Now it's non-existent, but that website was a website to sell drugs, basically. It was an illegal website run by someone called Rose. But the thing is, when I host a website on the dark web, nobody would know what my real IP of the server is. Let's say I'm hosting it on a VPS, and I have a Tor relay that is used to host the website. So this website, nobody would know the original IP, but everyone can connect through the Tor relay. So let's say someone is connecting to my website, they will be connecting through multiple computers. So let's say 5 computers, let's say. So it's going through all these 5 machines and then to my server. So what happens is that nobody would know the origin IP plus my server IP. It's all encrypted. The only way to leak an IP is if I'm running an exit node near to the Tor relay. So let's say I have access to multiple computers that are currently running on the Tor relay. Let's say in this Technopark building, a lot of people are running the Tor relay, and I'm running an exit node. So exit node means there has to be a start and end point for every network, right? I'm running an exit node means every request ends up through my machine. That means I can read everyone's host IP, but not the contents, because full onion routing is encrypted. And that's the reason why it's the most secure part. A VPN, however, the difference between a VPN and the Tor relay is that if you're connecting to a VPN, you're connecting to, let's say you're using Proton VPN. They have multiple servers. And when you connect through the VPN, your request is going through their servers and then to the others. So if Proton VPN is basically just logging every user's request, that means you're vulnerable, because they can just read your clear trust request however they want, except if it's HTTPS, otherwise they can, otherwise they can't. So that's the reason why VPN companies basically market themselves as like, they don't do any sort of logging. And that's the sole reason. Like, if there is logging, they can just read your request. But in the Tor thing is basically just decentralized. Like, imagine blockchain for basically network. It's basically the same concept, because everything is encrypted, end-to-end encrypted. But if you are running the end node, then of course there is a way to
read everyone's IP. But other than that, it's the most secure way to browse the internet. Unfortunately, a lot of people are using it for illegal reasons, like selling drugs or whatever, because of the privacy it provides. So yeah, that's all about it. It's encrypted, very secure to use, but there is no use other than just for learning because of the way people use it. It's just for illegal things. Other than that, yeah, it's very fascinating subject. Yeah. Hope that answers your question.
And just to give an introduction about Mofid, he's the gold medalist for national skills for cybersecurity, and he represents India to the world competition.
Yeah, I participated in the World Skills Competition. It's basically the Olympics of skills by the world government. I was the person who represented India in the cybersecurity CTF competition, international CTF. Yeah.
And also we know that you created some programming language or something of that sort.
Yeah, that's not related to security, but yeah, I created a programming language myself. It was for a competition. I was a program. Basically, the concept was to create a programming language based on the comments being the first-class citizen. So if you have worked with any programming languages, you know that you denote user comments with basically code comments. So you can just describe like this function does this function does what. That is a comment on top of a function or whatever. You can use multi-line comments, all those things. So the concept for the competition was to make that first-class citizen. So like the comments are the ones which are executing, the other things are avoided. So it was like a fun competition. So I participated in that, made a programming language for it in the Rust programming language. Yeah, that was.
Yeah. So regarding the after project, is there anything that you want to? Nothing. Then, oh, any other questions? So you understood like there is something called darknet or like Tor. Tor. Can someone explain what is the Tor system, like for them to understand?
Okay, so basically Tor is the concept behind it.
Just a minute. Just a minute. So we access website. How do we access our websites? Just go to a browser and type in www.chakka.com or google.com, right? So that is how access the internet, right? A website in an internet. So there are some other websites which is not, we cannot get by directly typing it in the browser. So there is a method where it is kept anonymous or hidden so that people cannot track who hosted it, etc. And he will be talking about that. Yeah, continue.
Yeah, so Tor is basically just a network concept. The way you access it is basically there's a browser called Tor browser. They are the ones who created it. But now they're rewriting it to a browser called Artem, but that's a completely different thing because it's written in Rust for memory safety. But
you download movies using torrent sites and all. Torrent, you know, right? Yeah. Okay.
yeah, so basically it's actually behind the scenes, it's just a proxy. So what a proxy means is that, let's say that laptop, we can actually configure that as a proxy. So when we connect to a Wi-Fi, instead of connecting to the Wi-Fi, we can actually set the system proxy to that of the IP and port of that laptop, which means all our requests are going through that laptop to the Wi-Fi network. Just like that, a Tor browser acts like a proxy. So that's the reason why you can connect to Onion TLD. So all Onion websites, which means Tor websites, ends in a TLD called .onion. It should be like alphanumeric, then .onion. Even Facebook has a alternative website on the dark web. So you don't necessarily need the browser to access the dark web. You can use a Tor relay proxy in your system, which usually in the 9500 port. You can connect through that proxy as well. That's what the browser does behind the scenes. For a layman user, you can just directly download Tor browser and then directly access the dark web. And even the latest version of Brave browser has along with the private tab, just like you open an incognito
so
tab.
how many of you use Brave? Do you know? Okay.
Yeah, so Brave has an inbuilt support for Tor to access the Tor web. Yeah.
Thank you, Mufi. Now, any other questions? So you can also express like something that you know or you learned also in this forum. Yeah.
So I'm a developer. So while developing a web application, what are the basic security defensive or popular attacks we may face, or what are these preventive measures we can take against them? Some popular ones.
some we know like there is a long list of security measures that we need to take care while developing a website. So as a developer, he want to know what are the most important ones that need to be careful about.
Actually, there are a lot of vulnerabilities when you are developing a web application. Like, uh, suppose it's actually starting from the code itself. If you are not using secure coding practices, like actually if you are not using some vulnerable version or not patched up version of the programming languages or any other framework that you're using, it is actually itself a vulnerability that will be having a lot of vulnerabilities associated with it. So moving on to web application, if you have a login form, like if you have a login form where you are the simple one is you are providing username and password, right? So if you are typing the username and I am providing an incorrect password, and then you will be sending me a message like the password is incorrect. So I can actually get a knowledge that the password is incorrect but the username is correct. So similarly, if I am entering a correct password and a username is incorrect, then you are actually sending me a message like the password is username is incorrect. So from that message itself, I could identify that the username is incorrect and the password is correct. So I can iterate over a large number of times you by fussing up some usernames. Then if I could get actually get the correct username, then I will be actually entering into that web application. Like so, I will be bypassing the authentication form. So from that simple message itself, you have to be more secure. Like you need to provide a message like the username or password might be incorrect or user credentials are incorrect, messages like that. So starting from the login form itself, we have that kind of, we could identify that kind of vulnerabilities. So that's the basic one. And from that, if you are using some database, like if you are using SQL data, MySQL or any other database, then we have a vulnerability called SQL injection, where we could actually enter some SQL commands. Like if you are not using some prepared statements in order to filter those queries, then I could actually create a payload to enter into that system. Like bypassing that authentication, you are not actually checking the username and password. I can enter a malicious payload into that username and password field, and I can actually enter into that system. So that is an basic SQL injection vulnerability, like bypassing the authentication form. Similarly, I could actually inject.
So for example, you mentioned about SQL injection. So like they add, for example, in the username field they add a SQL, and then bypass and get into it. So how, as a developer, how could he avoid that?
The main thing is that you not need to trust the user input. Like all the inputs that are entering to the input field must be filtered. You should enter some prepared statements for SQL injection, or if any other like of injection attack, like there can be cross-site scripting attack, there can be command injection attack where we'll be there are always command injection where we sending some OS command. So what you need to do is to filter out all those input, like any other special characters or any those kind of statements should be removed from the user input. So you should not trust the user input first thing. Like you should ensure that all the user input must be filtered and they does not contain any other malicious character. So the user should not should enter what he's intended to enter into that input field. So that's a basic thing. So when we are considering about input fields or other field, etc. So that's it. And other thing that you can do is to use a patched up frameworks. Like you need to update all the versions of what frameworks are you using, what program languages you're using. So all these should be updated.
Because normally these attackers use the already exposed vulnerabilities. They will have a payload and they will try to attack using that. So and then whenever this framework they know about it, they keep on releasing the patches. And you should keep, if you are using any other frameworks or any other for example, if you are using WordPress, like you always need to keep updated with the WordPress latest version, because there is tons of vulnerabilities that is already exposed, and people attack those type of websites.
There is no other way. We can't go to the framework code and make our own changes, right? So you have to patch up. If a vulnerability is available in the internet, the vendor will release a patch for that as soon as possible, right? So if some researcher found a vulnerability today, by tomorrow. Yes. Yeah, that is something called patch management. Like any services you use in the near future, there is going to be a vulnerability which will be discovered. So once it is discovered, they'll release a patch. Microsoft, they I don't know, they write bugs mostly. So whatever they do, there will be vulnerability, so they patch it. That's why these patches are coming one by back to back. You get updates and all. So anybody, let's say you are using Apache web server. So tomorrow they release a new vulnerability or critical remote code execution. But by latest, before after that, they'll release a patch for that. So you have to patch it or update to the latest version. Yeah, that is one thing we can do. Otherwise, from the developer side, always take the user input as a very serious matter. Like if you are allowed to, if you are asking for an email address, you should only whitelist all those letters. Like there is an @ symbol, then there is a dot. So all these characters and the symbols must be allowed. No other symbols should be, because around 50% of the vulnerabilities which we see in an application, happens because of a user input. Yeah, but let's say XSS, SQL injection, this command injections, the LFIs, everything is user input. The user gives something and the system behaves in another way and give an output. Yeah.
Sir, you told about that input filtration. പറഞ്ഞു അപ്പോൾ ഈ എക്സാമ്പിൾ ഒരു പേരോട് നമ്മുടെ ഈ ആൻഡ് ഓർ വെച്ചിട്ട് ചെയ്യുന്ന ഒരു ഇതുണ്ട്. ആൻഡ് ഓർ പാസ്വേഡ് ഇട്ടിട്ട് ആൻഡ് ഓർ പിന്നെ ലാസ്റ്റ് വരുന്ന കോഡ് അത്രയും കമാൻഡ് ആക്കി മാറ്റുന്ന. അപ്പോൾ ഇവിടെയൊക്കെ നമുക്ക് യൂഷ്വലി നമ്മൾ പാസ്വേഡിൽ ഇതെല്ലാം ഈ സിമ്പിൾസ് ഒക്കെ യൂസ് ചെയ്യാറുണ്ടല്ലോ. ലൈക്ക് അപ്പോൾ അതൊക്കെ മാറ്റണമെന്നാണോ സാർ ഉദ്ദേശിച്ചത്?
For passwords, we have to provide all these different characters. For password, these SQL injection type things, what we have to do is there are structured queries. Like there won't be perfect SQL query in the code. They'll pass it to some variable, and from there they'll take it to the structured query part. From there they execute this SQL query. So when it comes to that part, these things will be solved. Otherwise, if you are directly giving this password to the SQL query which is written the code, they can comment off by -- plus, they can comment off the rest of the code and put something in between and bypass it into it. That is called blind SQL injection, I believe. Yeah.
In prepared statements, we will be only passing the input as a, if you have a function, if you are writing a function, what you do, you will take the input and you will pass the input as a variable for that function, right? Likewise, in prepared statement, what we does is that we don't entirely attach the payload section into that query. What we does is that we will take the data we want from the user input, and we will sanitize it, and we pass that data to the already having a predefined or pre-stated query. So the ingestion attacks, like what happens is we passing the query and it will be appending to the query and it will executing in the database, right? That's the flow. And using these prepared statements, it will break it, because only we are using the necessary data from the user input on. And what stored procedure does is that we will having the procedure itself in a stored already. So what this does is that we call that according to our need only. And there is one more thing you need to take care when using database. What is that? You need to control the user who is connecting to the web application. Like if you're having a database and you have to set up multiple role based users, so that if you have a chance, like if SQL injection can not only happens in the front end section where you are putting your username or password, it can happen to the underlying network request what is passing through your browser. So there are also possibilities that can happen injection like that over that parameters also. So control your user, that is if the user is accessing web application, that their data access privileges should be well maintained. Because if by any chance if that data is exposed or find a vulnerability, SQL injection vulnerability over there, and some attacker managed to get to the database also, you can control from administrator. You can control if you have another role user in that database also. So that's the basic things you need to take care when it comes to SQL injection. And lot other injections are also there, but actually we want to do is that basically sanitize everything, even if it is not means no, it's not like that. If you have to take let's say a numeric data, okay, maybe you will already predefine that in your API request, maybe you will have already predefined some numeric data or any characters to make the request. So what the attacker does is that they'll just proxy, they will intercept that request and they'll tamper it. So if I put some payload not only containing any numeric data, they'll have more alphabets or any alphanumeric characters, comma, dots, and all those characters will be there. So they'll be using they'll be trying to use, so okay, so supply all these data, and they'll finally attain some at some point, if that payload is connecting to our injecting some of the areas of our web application, like maybe according to our language we can insert OS commands, so it is connecting with OS, and SQL commands where it is connecting with the database. And there are also predefined functions with the technologies we are using, right? So we can append to anywhere. So what we want to do is that we just want to make sure that only that the valid data is coming, or we just eliminate all other possibilities as we could. So that's how we should develop code, and you should be careful about that.
Okay, thank you. So this is how it is. Fire about it is, you are just immersing with a lot of practitioners around. Like you can ask any questions that you have, and it is not just like a trainer coming and taking the session, right? These people actually work and just to talk about Beagle Security, actually they have a product that just come, yeah. So like penetration testing, right? So they have a tool that does the penetration testing. Like you can check whether your website is vulnerable to penetration testing using their tool. And I think like Maninder can just
What we have is a automated penetration testing tool. So if you are into hacking, like this thing, you'll be aware of, there are so many tools for testing all these vulnerabilities, like scanners like burp suit, if you have heard of it. So what we do is we take a web application, we take a URL of it, and we will test rigorously for all the vulnerabilities. We have around 400 plus test cases, where all these test cases comes SQL injection, XSS, OS command injection, and many more. And we test the application if they have any kind of vulnerabilities, and make a beautiful report and submit to the users, where they can find all these vulnerabilities, ask the developer to fix it, retest it, and find the application is secure or not. So we incorporate AI into it. We incorporate many other tools, new technologies into it, and it is quite catching up nowadays. We have a lot of customers also. That's it. You can Google Beagle Security and you can find it. Maybe you can get, there is a trial period or something for 14 days or something. So you can look into it, scan a website.
So if you build a website, you want to ensure like whether it is secure, like it is for security, like it is proof, and you can just go to Beagle Security, give your website, and there is some steps to follow, and get your website tested, and there is a 14-day free trial that is available. Okay, and they are one of the most promising startups from Kerala in the cybersecurity space. Okay, and also like recently you got some certification or something, right, Raja? I want you to talk about that. Come on. Yeah. What is it?
Certain environment, like certain is the authority or companies which can test Indian government and bank, RBI mandate, that kind of test. That's the certain empanelment. In Kerala, we have around 4 companies, and around India, we have around 100 plus companies. We are one of them.
It is just like government, like only if the can be considered as like secure by the government.
To host in government data centers or in government approved websites, they need to test
And approved by a cert certificate company, and they are one of them.
And we are one of the youngest
companies. Yeah.
But he is very old. Nowadays, somebody says he is 60 years old. Okay, so that's it. Any other questions? Any other questions? If there is something, we can take it offline. Yeah. Yeah. So how did it go, Febna?
I think it was. I think something might have been catch from this session. It was not that much deeper topic. So.
So
how
I
do you
just
feel
they,
about-
they normally take sessions into deep security and only those type of sessions they end. So I just wanted them to take a session because we know like right now more are students who are coming in, like so we also have to do justice towards that. That is why we thought like just having a very plain session on what is cybersecurity, what are the type of things. You will get some keywords that you can go and later you will say like when you hear about dark web or Tor, etc. At least you should say like, yeah, I know, I recollect, I heard it somewhere, right? So those words should not be alien. So that type of very simple and entry level sessions that we needed, and thanks Febna for putting a lot of effort because these type of things like trends and transformation on this thing, cybersecurity and all those things. Like when the practitioners, they just do the practice. They do not be always keeping updated with all those things and making documentations on that, right? I think she had put a very good effort to curate all those data and content for us. And Sharon, so we have the committee here to hand over. Who are Sahir? You are also committee. Taha. Okay. So there is a small token of appreciation for you. Yeah. So they are the one every month. Every month there will be a different committee from the company who runs the Fireport 80. So this time Taha and Sharon is in charge of that. Okay. So how many of you are here for the first time? Oh, that's amazing. So this is the 97th edition of Fireport 80. This started in 2013. Every month we normally used to do it on first Wednesdays. The people come together and discuss on what happened in the technology world in the last 1 month, like some tech bites and a topic that people are interested in. And also it is not about learning new things. It is a space where you could ask any questions related to that. There will be somebody in there. You see like people from the audience itself, they come forward and answer the questions, right? Together we will be solidifying things, that is whatever we know, and then we can have a confidence because it is not just the things that we know, it is also about the people that we know, right? Now you will be finding a lot of people who are into cybersecurity space, who know AI and all those things to connect to. Also use this as a networking opportunity, connect to people, become friends, and even you can form a cybersecurity or that interest group based on smaller communities there, and do further meetups. So now over from 2000, it is almost 9 years we have been doing this, and it happens in Kochi and Calicut as well. And what to say, and then also we have another community for student. It is from GTech MuLearn. How many of you know about MuLearn? MuLearn. Okay. So MuLearn is for students, mentors, faculties, everyone to get connected based on their area of interest. Whatever your passion is, you are into AI, or you are into music interest, or you are into something else. Like based on your passion, you have to find a career, right? Not just after getting a degree, getting to a job and getting trained for that. So you should have a choice. So for that, you need to find your identity. What am I good at? So Mulearn helps you to have lot of free sessions. It is completely free. You can go to mulearn.org. You can join. There is a Discord server. I think around 17,000 plus students are there from 500 plus institutions across the state. So they group together based on interest. It can be AI, it can be cybersecurity, it can be IoT, it can be AR, VR, anything. And you can form small learning group, and there will be inputs on what you have to learn. I asked about the learning path, right? There is a cybersecurity learning path in Mulearn also, which is being maintained by these people itself. So it has a council which has experts from different companies who are practitioners. They tell you like what you have to learn. And it is not just learning and getting a certificate. It is learning and building something or solving a real world problem. For example, if you want to learn web, you come there are different courses that is available and also different cohorts that runs to teach you how to build a website. But after the course, you have to build one website for any of the shops nearby. Bring a chai kada online. Go to a shop. You learn how to develop a website. Go to a shop. Know like what all items are there in the chai kada, tea, how much does it cost, and all those things. Pick the menu, take the picture of the shop, take a testimonial of that. Some people come there and build a website for that. And you can submit it, and peers and mentors will review it and give you inputs and help you make it live. So we'll help you to host the website so that you can show someone like I learned and this is my website, and you can give the URL to that shop so that he can say like I am digital right now. So each and every activity that you learn, there will be a lot of mentors coming in. So every week there will be an office hour. For example, cybersecurity office hour happened on Fridays 8:30. So you will also be able to find cybersecurity enthusiasts from other campuses. They gather together in a server called Discord and talk to each other. And there are different other activities like Inspiration Radio. Luckily, he was the speaker on the Inspiration Radio yesterday, and then people were learning about him. Today night we have Salt Mango Tree, right? Salt Mango Tree is just like if you want to improve your English communication skills, you just come there and speak in English, and some mentors will be there to tell you like what are the words that you have to use, how to improve those type of conversation, learn few new vocabulary, etc. It is also like just to improve the communication. And there is something called open mic where you can come and perform. And also mentors will be there to teach you like how to keep the mic, use the mic better while you sing, how to use it professionally. And there is also Mentor Connect. This Saturday, I think we have Arvind Panikar. He's from Google. So he was in Mulearn long before. And he is right now in Google, but he never applied to any companies. Companies chased him and found him and gave him the job. How did he achieve it? He will be telling you about like how to get companies chase you, how to maintain your LinkedIn profile, what is the algorithm behind that, how to get referrals from those type of companies to get there, how to get noticed by the hiring agents or HR, and also like what are the resources that he used. So getting connected to more people is very important. It is because you have to break your echo chambers. Like you are a group of friends, everyone know everything, right? Whatever you know, you also know the same thing, and you think like you know everything. So constantly keep on breaking the echo chambers is very important. And Fire Portative was started for that, for the professionals, and Mulearn is for students. So make use of that opportunity also. And thank you, Beagle Security and team for conducting such a wonderful session. And like we are also forming a think tank group for cybersecurity. I think that is anybody who are interested to contribute also can be part of that. Think tanks are the group that meets once in a month and discuss on any topics on that domain. Okay. So that's it. Let's officially wind up and have a picture with the speaker. Where's the speaker? Oh, yeah. So let's have a picture together. Okay. And anybody want to follow Fireport 80, you can search for it. So it is Fireport 80. So it is a cybersecurity, this thing. Like, what does it mean, Port 80? Have you heard about Port 80? No? What is Port 80?
Okay, so we have a port, different ports where we could connect to a server like port 80 for 43. So port 80 is the basic port, HTTP port that we'll be using to connect to a server. And then we have 443 port, which will be connecting to the SSL, like more HTTPS. We will be having secure connection to a website. So, and then I can say the, yeah. So
SMTP will have another port.
where we
Skype,
port
if you're using it, is using another port. So there are
different ports
there. And port 80 is the free and open port in a server. And port 80, Fire's port 80 is, it is where we, and then these ports are where information exchange happens. So Fire port 80 is a event or a program where Fire as a company, we communicate to the outside world, and anybody is free to walk in and have a cup of coffee and discuss on those things. So that is why the name Port 80. Okay. Thank you, and let's gather for a picture. And you can, anybody who want to stay back, you can feel free to stay back, talk with others, and know more about them. And she will also be available here. Yeah. Sahir, photographer.